Hi, I'm Jane Esselstyn.
I'm Ann Esselstyn.
And we today are going to continue with greens.
Greens.
And we're wearing green.
Ish.
But reason we're continuing with greens is that we had a lot of excitement around our post that we did with how to eat greens 6 times a day. And we tried to get so much information in there that we actually didn't get to some of the greens we had on our messy surface. So today we're going to talk about one of our favorite winter recipes, which is Brussels sprouts. You have your own way of cooking Brussels sprouts.
I just cut them in half and boil them.
And one way that
and they're really good when you do that, dipped in hummus.
After they're cooked?
After they're cooked.
So one way that I love to have them, actually, and I've already prepared some of them here, is just to cut them in half. If they're big, cut them in half, or even cut them into quarters. And that way they cook sort of faster and they're kind of bite-sized. And the way I'd like to do it, and my kids really like them this way. I know, kids and Brussels sprouts, they don't think those two things go together, but they do, is just put a little maple syrup on them. Oh, if you're following along, this is called Brussels sprouts with game, and it's in Plant Strong on page 158, and it's just a little bit of maple syrup.
Jane, I have to interrupt you because a friend, Char, told us about these new purple Brussels sprouts that are
spectacular.
So fun because they look a little ugly on the outside, but look at this. When you cut these in half, look at that. They're this beautiful purple.
It looks like a wee cabbage. So, you know when you cut it, or like a little mini purple cabbage.
I'm going to just add a few of these into your pot.
Oh, great. People will pick out the gold mine for the purple ones. Haha. All right, so as I was saying, just put a little bit of maple syrup.
Purple mine.
Put a little maple syrup on and some black pepper. And then just toss it around. And once they're all sort of semi-coated with a little pepper and maple syrup, put them on in a pan. My mom is wrestling with. This is a little pan that's parchment lined. We're just going to throw them in there and put them in the oven, covered for, we have a recommended time here, but it might vary due to the size. We say 20 minutes here, but it might be 30 minutes if you have big ones, or it might be not that much if you have, there's some little teeny, there's little teeny Brussels sprouts sometimes, like the size of, like not jelly bean, but something like that. So cover this with aluminum foil and throw it in. And here we go. Oh, I should have probably used a bigger pan. I have
here, you have
That's for a different way of doing that one. We're going to do it a different way. So cover this, and here. I'm going to cover this, and in it goes. This keeps some of the moisture in as it's baking.
What are you going to do with these?
Now these, what we found is that boiling things is fine. Baking them in the oven covered is fine. But sometimes really like shaving these and putting them on a tray and then roasting them brings out a different kind of flavor. So can you just chop these up quickly with me? We're going to put them on this pan and get them roasting. And it's kind of the same recipe, but it's just roasting it. Okay, we've got these all sort of chopped, and if you have a mandolin and you can shave them and all that stuff, you're way, way ahead of us. We don't have a mandolin and shaving thing. I'm scared I'd shave my thumb right off. So here we have these. We're putting this in a bowl, and we're going to do the same thing. Just pour some maple syrup on and some black pepper.
Now, I just want to make a comment that I would be more likely not to use maple syrup, but maybe to use some balsamic vinegar instead.
You know what?
And,
maybe we should do that. Let's do that on this one.
Well, you just put maple syrup in.
I only had like...
But that's what I do. It's never quite as delicious, but I like to avoid the maple syrup and to use the balsamic vinegar.
We're going to try
instead.
balsamic vinegar then.
Well, but you
this.
just put.
I put just a wee.
Jane,
Oh,
you missed one.
good eye. I'm going to put some. I'm just going to drizzle this in. That we just said how you would do it.
Oh, well.
There we go. Drizzle that in. Toss it. And I like putting black pepper on. This is a spontaneous recipe right now. Just shaved or very well chopped Brussels sprouts with some balsamic vinegar, some black pepper. Should we put some turmeric on them?
Why not?
We've just recently heard, and maybe we're slow on the pickup here, that black pepper. Black pepper and turmeric do well together. They help with the bioavailability of the turmeric and all that good stuff. So
I don't know where that. Hey, wait.
Oh, we forgot the.
Here's the turmeric.
Let's just sprinkle.
You know, actually, put turmeric in everything somewhere, a little bits. It doesn't. You know, if you don't put too much in, who knows the difference? And what it does is it gives it sort of a great color.
Yeah, a nice little. Oh, what are you doing?
A little more.
Okay, this is a new recipe, and I'm excited to get it on this tray. It smells great. I'm so glad. So balsamic vinegar, a kiss of maple syrup. There really was nothing left in that little in that bowl, and black pepper, turmeric, and so just spread it out in the pan, and we're going to roast these until it smells like they're done, which might be in the middle of everything we're talking about now. So, Anne, you want to talk about the other green? Where's the other green? Oh, they're the other greens we had today. We wanted to mention these didn't get a lot of airtime last time.
Bok choy is great. I love the baby bok choys, but what I like about them is that they last a long time, and you can just stick it in the refrigerator like this, and it'll last. So you can put it in your salad. You can chop it and put it in your salad. I would take the end off. You know, you do need to wash these baby bok choys because look at that dirt. So you can chop it up, and then you would need to wash it and put it in your salad, or you can put it in a stir fry. I mean, you can put it in soup, and it's surprisingly delicious in soup, and it just sort of disappears.
And it was so cool is you can eat the white all the way up to the green, like the whole business, the up to here. And it doesn't mind being cooked. It doesn't mind being raw. My husband recently has been making this wonderful sort of bok choy, really finely chopped. I'm using the word shaved a lot today, but I think it's more like not even chiffonade. Thinly chopped bok choy, putting some lime on it, and it's this great, beautiful sort of almost like Asian style salad.
Well, one other thing that I like to do is to take a whole baby bok choy, cut it in half, and then just quickly, like with mushrooms, and cook it in a pan just quickly.
Frying pan or a
frying pan? Just fine. I mean, this cooks. This hardly needs to be cooked. You can eat it just as it is.
Yeah, you can eat it raw. It's so good. So, but speaking of greens and questions, we had lots of comments on our website about our greens video we did a few weeks ago, and we want to answer a couple of questions, and we got a great email that had kind of condensed all the questions together. So I'd like you to answer these with me. When you buy all those beautiful fresh greens, how do you store them? Do you keep them in plastic bags from the grocery store and place them in a refrigerator, or do you take them out of the bags and place them in the refrigerator that way?
Do not use plastic bags for anything. Especially those grocery store ones. You'd take your own bags.
Many times the greens are too big to put in the veggie bins. How long do greens last in the refrigerator? To answer all those questions, we have an example. This is how I store a lot of my greens actually in my house. My mom doesn't do this all the time, but I put water in the base of a vessel and then put the greens in, and they stay perky and upright.
I just would take this whole pile of greens and I would put it in the bin of my refrigerator, and then on top of it I would put another one, and then I would take two more and put them in this direction, and I can get at least 4 or maybe 5 this size in the bin, and they last a really long time. Now, they don't stay necessarily beautiful like this, but you know what? When you cook it,
And we
it
use
doesn't
these
need to
kinds of
look
bags
pretty.
to get our greens. We use like cloth and these
But
not plastic bags. Plastic just makes them sort of sweat and rot. And
and then I will put parsley and
parsley.
and I would put all of that just right in top of all of this in my little bins. But look,
Dill.
Jane's,
Well,
mine get droopy.
Dill is droopy. Okay, so ideally get your stuff not in plastic, but in like here's one of our greens bags, and just you don't need to take plastic from the store and just leave it home to go into the ocean and go nowhere.
I'm always just sort of sorry when I see people putting their oranges and putting anything they buy into
Bananas.
whatever.
Bananas
you know.
and plastic. Okay. Also, I noticed in the video that you did not wash greens. Had you already done that? I understand that greens all should be washed prior to using. Also, what are your thoughts on generic versus non-generic? I think maybe you mean organic.
Organic.
So do you want to talk about washing? You
Well,
talked about it a little earlier.
yes. I mean, I wash some, but when stuff is organic, I tend to use it. But for instance, this, clearly you've got to wash it because look, there's dirt. So beet greens, I always wash beets and beet greens because
They're sandy.
They're yes. I don't tend to always wash the kale, but do you?
If I'm going to cook it, no, because it's like the water I'm cooking it in.
Because
it
we
boils it
because
all off.
we tend to put kale in a. For instance, this morning when I was making breakfast, I have a big wok, and I put water and I put a whole bunch of kale, and the bunches of kale are huge. I strip the kale, put that in there, and boil it for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, just until it's tender, and then I will put it. Did you bring that?
Yeah.
Then I'll put it. No, I want. Did you put Essie brought? Did you? Oh, here.
Ha! We found our kale.
So here is some kale from this morning. Actually, my husband has eaten a lot of it, but it's, you know, this is my non-perky kale from the refrigerator, which is looking
it's wilted,
nice
yeah.
and I mean, you know, it's looking perky.
Ready to be eaten.
Eaten perky. I mean, cooked perky.
Okay, so, and I think she means organic. We buy some things organic and other things not organic, but it's, ideally, we all eat organic food.
And I mean, really, there are those 12 things, you know, things like strawberries, spinach, kale, apples, grapes, peaches, that you should try and get organic if you can. But Lord, if you're never going to eat another cherry because it can't be organic, it makes me sad.
Yeah. So organic is best, but we understand it cannot always be that way. I was wondering how you cooked greens. If place them directly in the water or simmer them or boil them, don't all the vitamins go away in the water? Is it better to steam them? What about microwaving them? However, you can get greens into your life. If you boil them, broil them, steam them, chop them, massage them, or if you use Chef Mike, the microwave, that's fine. Just get them into your life. And some people are concerned about losing vitamins in the water. Then drink the water if you are that concerned. I don't really worry because I eat so many greens when I cook them that the amount I eat, I mean, I'm getting so much good stuff in that.
I mean, you could save the greens and use that green in recooking things or
in
in
water?
the water or in if you're making a vegetable broth. But somehow, maybe you'd like it instead of tea.
So, next question. In regards to serving size, you mentioned in the video, our previous video that is, about cooked versus non-cooked, and we never really answered that question, so which is it? We decided to invite the varsity in today to help us answer that question. So, we've invited my dad today, Dr. Esselstyn, to come join us and talk about why greens, and cooked, raw, however, but just basically we're going to talk about greens. So, Daddy, Dr. Esselstyn, can you join us?
Okay.
Please, yes. Thank you for coming.
Sweetheart, how exciting to have this invitation,
Come on in.
Mummy. Well, greens are really terribly exciting in what I do because not only are they're terribly healthy for everybody, 2 or 3 meals a day, but with patients with cardiovascular disease, heart disease, I increase that to 6 times a day, which we've done for the last 8 years for our patients. Now, the reason for this is we have to recognize what are the problems with patients with cardiovascular disease and what are the tremendous benefits of green leafy vegetables. Now, if you were to ask a patient with cardiovascular disease to sort of shrink their head to a size they could actually crawl into their coronary artery and see the blockage,
Yeah.
they would see that it's an absolute cauldron of oxidative inflammation. So we need antioxidants. But no, do not go down to the health food store and buy a jug of pills that says antioxidant, because it doesn't work. It's going to be harmful. We want these patients to get their antioxidants from food. All right. What kind of food? Food that is high in what we call ORAC value. ORAC, oxygen radical absorptive capacity. So if they're having raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries on their morning oat cereal, terrific start. However, nothing can trump the antioxidant value of green leafy vegetables. So what we're getting at here is we're getting at the absolute molecule that is the key to restore the health of these patients who do have cardiovascular disease. They have a deficiency of nitric oxide. All right. Now, what makes nitric oxide so special? Nitric oxide has amazing functions that really restore and maintain the integrity and really the salvation of all of our blood vessels depends on nitric oxide. So, what are the functions of nitric oxide? One, it keeps all the cellular elements within our bloodstream flowing smoothly like Teflon rather than Velcro. Keeps things from getting sticky. Number 2, nitric oxide is the strongest blood vessel dilator in the body. You climb stairs, the arteries to your heart, to your legs, they widen, they dilate, nitric oxide. Number 3, nitric oxide will keep the wall of the vessel from becoming thick and stiff or inflamed, protect us from getting high blood pressure, hypertension. Number 4. Now, number 4 is the absolute key. A safe and normal amount of nitric oxide will protect us all from ever developing blockages or plaques. So literally, everybody on the planet, whether they're from London, Berlin, Chicago, New York, or Cleveland, if they have cardiovascular disease, is because by now, in the preceding decades, they have so sufficiently trashed, injured, compromised, and turned their endothelial system into a train wreck. They no longer have enough nitric oxide to protect themselves from developing blockages and plaque. But the good news, this is not a malignancy.
Right.
This is a completely benign foodborne illness. And once you can get patients to completely stop ever again passing through their lips a morsel that is further going to destroy an already train-wrecked endothelium, then the endothelium recovers, makes enough nitric oxide so that we no longer have disease progression, but we can begin to see absolute halting of disease progression, and often we will see elements of disease reversal. So I want to go back to the green leafy vegetable and mention that in the preparation of this for the patients, I like them to chew 6 times a day, something roughly 3/4 the size of their fist, or the size of their fist, which they first will boil in water 5.5 to 6 minutes, so it's now nice and
Would
tender.
you like to just show what you're talking about?
Well, it's gonna be
Please.
messy.
Here it is.
No. Oh, no, I mean, you know,
Well, I want to be a little delicate about it.
the last thing he is delicate. I wish you could see him when he goes by the refrigerator, he opens it up, and he loves to have arugula, and he'll just eat it out of the bag, and he just eats it, not delicately at all, with arugula on the floor and all over the place.
Just trying to make it convenient for you. So
Wait,
we have the. Is
this what you mean?
Yeah, they have the green leafy
Like
vegetable,
a little handful cooked?
which has been boiled 5.5 to 6 minutes, and then before chewing, I want them to anoint it with several drops either of rice vinegar or balsamic vinegar. Why? Because the acetic acid in the vinegar has been shown to restore the nitric oxide synthase enzyme contained within the endothelial cell that is responsible for making nitric oxide. Now, by now, I hope the audience has grasped the idea of how important nitric oxide is. So the body has two systems for making nitric oxide. One, the endothelial cells, which line all of our blood vessels. But unfortunately, with aging, there is a progressive failure of the endothelial system. That is to say, by age 50, you supposedly have about 50% of the amount of nitric oxide produced by your endothelial cells as you had when you were 25. However, it appears...
You're getting there, Jane.
However,
We're there.
it does appear that you can slow up this deterioration of the endothelial system by avoiding the foods that are going to injure it. What are the foods that injure the endothelial cells? They are, one, oils, anything with a mother or a face, meat, fish, chicken, fowl, turkey, and eggs, dairy, milk, cream, butter, cheese, ice cream, and yogurt. I don't like sugary drinks, diet colas, and no excess of sugary foods, cakes, pies, cookies, stevia, agave, excesses of maple syrup or less, or honey or molasses. So we don't want, you can have some sweet, but just be very careful and aware that sugar can injure endothelial cells. Now, I want to mention the fact that, imagine this, how important nitric oxide is. How many of you have ever heard of an 8-year-old having a heart attack? No, their nitric oxide levels are sky high. But by the time they're in their early 20s, if they get hit by a bus and they die, sadly, and studies have shown if you autopsy those between 17 and 34 who have died traumatically, the disease is already ubiquitous. Not enough for their cardiac events, but already it's there as a baseline. Now, here we are doing what we can to protect number one pathway of making nitric oxide, the endothelial cells. What about the second one? So this is key. This one does not have to deteriorate with age, but you've got to know how to make it optimal. When you are chewing 6 times a day, this green leafy vegetable.
And you're saying not drinking like...
No, I don't. I'd rather have it be chewed rather than smoothies or juicing. Now, when you're chewing this green, you are chewing a nitrate. As you chew the nitrate, it is going to mix with the facultative anaerobic bacteria that reside in the crypts and grooves of your tongue. Now, those bacteria are going to, as they mix with this nitrate, which is the green that you're chewing, the bacteria are going to reduce the nitrate in your mouth to a nitrite. Now, when you swallow the nitrite, your own gastric acid will reduce the nitrite further to more nitric oxide. So, if you think about it, what you are doing literally all day long, if you're a cardiovascular disease patient, you are restoring without any ridiculous expense, without any hideous side effects as you would with the drug, you are restoring the very molecule, the deficiency of which has given you that disease in the first place. So, there are some caveats here. You can injure those beneficial bacteria in your mouth with mouthwash or with antibiotics. And as far as the stomach is concerned, we'd like to avoid taking any antacids because antacids will decrease the acidity in the stomach to the point where there'll not be enough acid to convert the nitrite to more nitric oxide.
So,
Now, one other point. People are going to know, or going to ask, what are the vegetables I'm talking about? They are bok choy, Swiss chard, kale, collards, collard green, beet greens, mustard green, turnip greens, Napa cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, cilantro, parsley, spinach, and arugula and asparagus. And the top 5 are kale, Swiss chard, spinach, arugula, beet greens,
And beets.
And beets. Thank you, ladies.
And wait, I just have to add that it sounded as if in our refrigerator it was just those 4 bunches of kale I just put in. But what's so cool is that collards are flat, so they're on the bottom, and then in between is some Swiss chard. I mean, you can just pack all those in, truly.
Hey, thank you so much for sharing all that information with us. And we have our Brussels sprouts are almost done to celebrate the Greens Day. Thank you, Daddy.
Okay.
All right. Hey, well, onward with our greens and our quite a theme for the day. The balsamic vinegar on the Brussels sprouts was starting to be kind of fragrant in the middle of our green discussion there, and I checked on it, and it looks like it's almost getting ready, but not quite. So we're going to just wait a few more minutes here and pull them out and give them a taste. Okay, we're going to take out the shaved Brussels sprouts because they're done so much sooner than the other ones. We checked on the halved Brussels sprouts. They still have a few minutes to go. But we're going to taste the shaved ones now because they're ready and they smell so good. They smell like
balsamic vinegar, I think, has helped them.
It was such a good call to do the balsamic vinegar. Ooh, can you hear it?
Ooh,
sizzling?
ooh, they look crunchy.
Oh, you're just going in with your hand. I was taking a little fork. Look at that. It's kind of yummy. Here, you want to try? Oh, they are kind of crunchy.
Oh, this is the new best way to do Brussels sprouts.
Wow. And I like the turmeric. This is great. Tell us how you try to make your Brussels sprouts.
Now, this is the bad thing is this is not good.
Wait, what do you mean?
That's too big. This is what's delicious.
It's actually done.
I know, but it's so nice, all these little crumbly.
Oh, you love crunch. Oh, hot.
Like this. This is perfect.
All right, so shave.
Can you hear the crunch?
We love crunch because you don't get a lot of crunch when you eat, the whole food plant-based, no oil way. Anyway, we're gonna let these cook for a while, and they'll look like Brussels sprouts. This was pretty exciting, and I love the balsamic vinegar, turmeric, black pepper, kiss of maple syrup because that all worked out really well. All right, so let us know how you make your Brussels sprouts. All right, cheers.
Woo!
Bye bye.